I'm Philip LaZebnick. I wrote the screenplay for the movie Prince of Egypt, and now I'm writing the book for the musical.
I'm Stephen Schwartz. I'm the composer and lyricist of both the movie Prince of Egypt and now the stage musical.
For quite a few years, evidently, people had been wanting to put on a stage musical of Prince of Egypt, but there was nothing for them to put on. So what schools and community theaters and so forth would do, illegally mind you, is cobble together their own show. And we were talking about this, that when we were working on a project in Denmark, there was a little theater that was putting on one of these homemade Prince of Egypts in Sweden, and we went to see it, and we both thought, this makes a pretty good stage musical. So eventually DreamWorks came to this, that they got tired of suing these little theaters who were put on these illicit productions, decided to make their own musical. That's how it started.
I think as a producer, you have to rely on what your gut tells you. It's all you can ever do. And when we went in and walked into that auditorium and sat down with an audience there for a sort of Friday night out, it's possible to get a bit cynical and go, well, they're out for a good time. It's that kind of show. And genuinely, by the end of the first act, I just had this feeling inside that we had to do this show. This show had to come to London, and we felt very strongly that it was the right place to start it as well.
The show is something that is so special because it's obviously derived from, if that's a word, from an animated film, but it also goes further back than that. Obviously, we were aware, I was raised as a Catholic, and we were aware that it's a story that is in the Bible. So it's something that is so beautiful and so well put together. It's a great story about two brothers that go on this epic journey, one born in privilege and one raised essentially in privilege. But then there's the battle, the torment, the sort of where do we go, what do we do? Do we follow the tradition or do we break tradition and do we move into the modern world that it's currently going? And I think that's what it's really about. It's about this love for one another, these two guys, but also it's about faith, belief, power, struggle, and
stepping outside, entering out of the squirmy, uncomfortable phase, and actually doing the right thing.
Exactly,
like
attacking. It is it's sort of that we spoke about it before. It's about like the purpose. What is one's purpose in life? What do we do? Where do I go? Am I meant to do this? It's that self-discovery, and I think it's so fitting with everything that's going on politically. It's a show that the West End currently needs, but not just because of the amazing music and the great story, but it's about a community of ethnic minorities telling a story,
right,
representing the country that we live in, the world that we live in, and I think it's so powerful. It's so powerful.
For me as a composer, it is so much fun to be in this musical world again, because the whole Middle Eastern sound has its own harmonies and its own sonorities and these really cool instruments. And one of the things we're going to be able to do in this show is we found some instrumentalists who can actually play those, and that's going to be part of the orchestra, because obviously we're not going to have a giant 90-piece film orchestra. So instead, we're going to be exploring that kind of sound, which for me as a composer is enormously exciting. And then beyond that, I think it is for us, as writers of the movie Prince of Egypt, it's so much fun for us and so exciting to go deeper into those characters, to be able to do what you can do in a full-length stage musical, which is just to be able to explore it much more than you can in an animated feature.
It is extraordinarily exciting being in a room and I'm welling up uncontrollably every time certain songs and certain performances happen. I mean, that is quite an experience. I mean, today at the launch, there's bits of I have to look away and think of something else because I will fill up and they won't be able to sing my bit. I mean, the music is beautiful. The talent that's been assembled is extraordinary, and it's thrilling to be in a room with so much talent and possibility. We've only had just over a week of workshopping the show, and there is so much going on already. It is. I think people are going to be blown away by the show. I mean, I know it's part of our job to sell the show. When people see it, we won't need to do that. I mean, it is quite extraordinary already. I mean, we've not had the costumes, we don't have a set. I think it's going to be pretty extraordinary. It's very exciting to be part of it.
Me and Luke have actually been a part of this process since February. I was a part of the Denmark one briefly, but we've been involved with it since then. And like, I will openly say this, I've never worked with someone that I've instantly liked, I've instantly got on with, and I know, yeah, exactly, it's so key. And but I feel a huge sense and immense pride for where I know Luke has sort of come and what he's achieved.
Away,
exactly, and it's sort of like, and we didn't know when both of us got cast, we actually didn't know, and there was a part of me that's like, and then I secretly messaged him and I was like, is there,
I had
and he
no
was like,
idea
oh,
what
I
you were
don't
playing
know.
at.
And
I was
then-
like,
and
are you
then
in it or not?
And he was like, are you in it? And I was like, silence, I don't want to say. And it was like,
You asked me the question and said nothing. I was like,
So
I've
bad.
ruined it. I've jeopardized this opportunity. It's
and I was
gone.
like, should I tell him? And then I was like, oh no, it's good that he's doing it. So yeah, it's amazing. there's 4 of us that have actually, from that first read, are actually in the show.
which
so
I
that's
think is testament to the fact that we've from
bonded.
Yeah,
Exactly, and to Jim Arnold, like a phenomenal casting director that people really should appreciate. I think he's phenomenal. The fact, like I said earlier, the minorities on that stage, it's phenomenal. It's very rare for you to see an 80% cast of ethnic minorities. When does that happen? It's so beautiful.
there's a real momentum building at the moment, isn't there?
Totally.
With this, just keep moving with it.
I think I've been struggling to find one moment because the entire experience has been so profoundly overwhelming and beautiful. I think that first moment of a company gathering together is always extraordinary for me in the development process in our prior developmental productions. That first moment of having an orchestra in the room and seeing Stephen Schwartz doing what he does and seeing the company react to the full sound and glory of this astonishing score. It's just goosebumps throughout. You almost can't contain your emotions. I have wept more times than I can count over the process of creating the show, and I expect a whole lot more tissues coming our way in the future.
For me, my favorite part in the process so far, and of course we're in a developmental process, is to see how it can dance and how it can come to life in a physical way that, because I'm not a choreographer and I'm not a costume designer and I don't create stage magic and so on, to see these creative people start to bring it to life through their own media has been dazzling for me.
Well, to be totally honest, my really favorite moment is when I get to hear Stephen sing a new song for the first time. That is thrilling beyond belief. But actually, what I truly enjoy about this process is just sitting in the room with these actors and observing them work their magic, and it is incredibly magical, and then being able to be inspired by what they're doing, if there are changes that need to be, or something new, but just being in the rehearsal room.